It's always something. It's always something. Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Best of 5. It feels like it's been forever, but it's really only been 14 days since we last were at Texas Showdown, and then I skipped last week because I was not feeling well. But hello, we're in here. I see you, Tap, Hot Limit, Shayon. Everybody, let's give a little clappity clap for Papa Steve, Ace King offsuit over there for 63 months. So we're later down the show, we're gonna be talking to Yohosie. They? Hold on one second. Yohosie, is it she, they, or they?
Just she.
Okay, cool, awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
She is here. We will get to her interview in just a little bit. I do have a couple of things that I wanted to chat about before we get there. Hey, look at that. It works. Before we even get to any of this, literally right when I hit live, Capcom decided to release some shit. Right? Like they keep trying to release stuff either during the show or after the show that we can't talk about, but we got them. So, literally as I hit live, Nakayama-san, the director of Street Fighter 6, released this on the Twitter. They have released one chapter of the Street Fighter 6 manga. So, if you want to figure out what happened to Ken and how he became a Trumper, you can now read it and get acquainted with his story, along with, I'm assuming, other stuff in there. So, you can go to became a Trumper. Yep, that's why he's in hiding. He went to January 6th, and then he had to go into hiding because, they're searching for him. Have you guys never heard that joke? All right, well, whatever. Look, tonight on the show, we're going to talk about Combo Breaker, breaking lots of records. We're going to talk about the Street Fighter 6 info. Yohosie is here. She's in the green room. We got her only red M&Ms. And there's a little something going on with CEO in Florida that we need to address. And we're going to move that to when Yohosie's in here, because who better to talk about the stuff going down in Florida than somebody in the LGBTQIA community. I hope I got all the letters. Now, let's start off with Combo Breaker, shall we? Combo Breaker, which is happening later this month, we'll be there. Has been breaking some records, and Rick has been going off on Twitter, and shout outs to him. He's somebody that works so hard for us in the FGC, so it's nice to see the fruits of his labor and him being excited about stuff. First, it started with this. Whoops, there we are. Milestone passed. Combo Breaker 2023 will be hosting the largest Tekken 7 tournament in our event's history. From shipping arcade boards across the country with Markman and company to now hosting this gigantic bracket for the Tekken World Tour has been an incredible journey. Turns out if you tell people to sign up for Tekken and give them the chance to play Tekken 8, people will sign up for Tekken. Also, that's not to discredit all the hard work that Rick and company do. The Tekken tournaments at Combo Breaker are always fun. I signed up for it. I can't wait to go play. I've been practicing my Leroy. People are about to get that work. Immediately after that, Strive is once again in the 4-figure club, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the first time an anime game has been in the 4-figure club the year after it's released. So big ups to Strive. Over 1,000 entrants. Next, the largest Skullgirls bracket Combo Breaker has ever hosted. The largest bracket in the Midwest for Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Grand Blue versus growing from last year. And VSAV being one player away from setting an all-time record. And spoiler alert, they broke it. New Combo Breaker VSAV attendance record has been reached. So everybody, much to, like Rick is saying, please take a moment to thank Vampire Arcadia, because their endless championing of this game and their efforts to build a rally point for it at Combo Breaker events has made it possible. And thank goodness, because VSAV is so much fun to watch, and I cannot wait to see all this crazy stuff happening in Combo Breaker. We're going to be there. I'm in talks with Rick. It's looking like we're going to have another episode of Combo Breaker, so that'll be a lot of fun. And like Steve is saying in the chat, between the official tourneys and side events, they're running a total of 16 streams. To which Rick's response is, this is not sustainable. Please buy a hoodie. So if you have the means, go buy yourself a Combo Breaker hoodie. Help Rick out, will you? Anyway, so those are the numbers we're getting from from Combo Breaker. I'm excited. Combo Breaker is about 3 weeks away. I just bought my flights, so boo for spending money, hooray for getting to fly. And I used some of the tips that Yohosie had in one of her videos about using credit cards. So shout outs to her for making good content, especially helping people travel. Now, we're gonna skip the CEO stuff because we're gonna talk about that with Yohosie later. Let's get to Street Fighter 6. Now, for those of you that missed out, last week, or actually the beginning of this week, there were rumblings of something being released, right? Something was going to be released. There was a tweet that Nakayama-san wrote saying, please wait 5 days, towards somebody asking something about JP and how they played. What else could they possibly show at this point, right? I think it was in one of our morning streams. For those of you that don't know, we started streaming in the mornings at 9:30 a.m. What else could they possibly show, right? Because they had the Street Fighter 6 showcase with your boy Wheezy, where they showed the World Tour mode. They showed a little bit of the Fighting Grounds. They showed a little bit of the Battle Hub, all that other stuff. And then what is there left for us to see, right? It feels like they ran out of marketing stuff. And this is the point where marketing has to ramp up for a game because it's coming out in less than a month at this point. So I think we were all expecting a lot of marketing, but there's been a little bit of silence after that. And all of a sudden, the embargo was lifted. I just punched the shit out of my mixer. The embargo was lifted, and we get a ton of gameplay footage. Shout outs to everybody. Shout outs to Giuna, first of all, for saying what we all had in mind, where he wrote a tweet that was like, I love that it's happening to other people, but it still should have happened to me. I'm sad I didn't get the secret look into Street Fighter 6. However, a lot of the bigger content creators like Maximilian, Sajam, the usual, along with a big European representation with Reversal.gg. They've been cracking away at content making for the FGC for a hot minute now, and they're doing a great job. Speaking of, here's some of their video. We got a lot of match footage. There was a supervised 90-minute play session per person where they were allowed to play World Tour mode. They were allowed to do Kami combo trials. They were allowed to play versus each other, and they were allowed to do, they were allowed to explore some of the, some of the character strategy tutorials, along with getting to grind out and train out on some characters. So big ups to Capcom for letting people do their thing and giving us more stuff to digest, because it's been fun watching a lot of these matches and a lot of this information coming out via our content creators. Boo on Capcom for not inviting me, damn it. Get me in there. Fucking Capcom. All this to say, there's still, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks until the fated weekend of Street Fighter 6's release. And now I don't know what they're going to, I was kind of expecting a beta this weekend based on some of the Twitter exchanges. But it all boiled down to nothing. And that's what I get for going off of other people's breadcrumbs. I got to go off of my own breadcrumbs. But we'll see what happens. We still have a month. I'm assuming there's still going to be something released here or there. I don't know. Maybe there will be something at Combo Breaker. That's the only thing I could think of where they might have something there. Because I know they will be having the Tekken 8 Alpha at Combo Breaker. So I wonder if Street Fighter 6 is also going to make an appearance there. Who knows? But anyway, we're close. We're finally getting to the game that's going to save the FGC, or so everyone says. But here's hoping, Here's hoping. Okay, so without further ado, you guys are probably tired of hearing me talk at this point. The content creator master, the Dragon Ball FighterZ commentator, player, the new Guilty Gear Strive May enjoyer, and hot off of a fundraising stream for her birthday, so happy birthday. Here is the one, the only, the Yohosie. There we are. Hello, welcome to the show. It's about dang time you're in here because you've been on my list of people to invite for a hot minute. First of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Like you just said, I just came off of a fundraising stream where my chat has graciously spared me from eating a horrid concoction, which is a pickled Twinkie. We didn't quite make that much. It was, bad. So we did manage to raise $775 for Games for Love, which was really good. And overall, I'm doing really good. It's been a fun week. So I'm doing great.
Yeah, and is the website for your donation still up and working, or is it completely over?
That's a good question. I'm going to say it's probably over at this point, but Games for Love is always taking donations, so you can just Google Games for Love, check out their website, and there's a direct donation link that you can donate through. So
awesome. Yeah, oh man, and Die by Sword's bringing up, I don't know if you remember, but when MVCI launched, they did the Marvel bars.
The Marvel bars?
Yeah, so when Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite launched, somebody at Capcom was like, oh, let's include food. So they did recipes for energy bars based on Marvel characters.
Oh.
And it's as bad as you think it is. I legit, like, I there was one that they made me try, and this was back when I was still the technical director, so I was behind the camera, but Efren made me try one that was like white chocolate, marshmallow, and butter or something. It was awful.
Ugh.
It was really bad.
You had me at the first two. I'm like, okay, like it's kind of like a take on s'mores. Like maybe if it's like a graham cracker, it might be okay, but butter.
Yeah, no, it was rough.
Is that even a protein bar? That just sounds like calories.
It was really bad. The other one was like Cheetos and beef jerky and granola. It was really bad. It was really bad.
Yeah, that sounds awful. They need some better recipe creators. Yeah, that sounds not pleasant. It turned out. Oh my god, I won't say it, but we'll just say that the quality of the game might match the quality of
honestly, not too far off. I do miss that game though. In all seriousness, but
I played that game exactly once, and I'm like, yeah, this game seems fun, but it's not for me.
Yeah. It was the first game I ever was able to play like a versus game because I have a hard time like switching between characters quickly.
Sure.
But for whatever reason, that game worked with my mind. First, before we get into our interview here, I asked you before the stream if you were comfortable speaking on this, and you said yes.
Yeah.
So there's been a little bit of an issue with CEO getting some hate because of the new bill that was passed in Florida. So I'm pretty sure I'm understanding this correctly, but this horrendous bill that they passed, essentially makes it illegal for a trans person to use a restroom, and it gives people the ability to like just point at someone and say, "Get them out of here." It's very weird. It's very dystopian. But this bill got passed, and it goes into effect, I think, in July. And CEO has been getting a lot of hate because they're obviously in Florida. So it feels like this hatred's a little bit misplaced. What do you think?
Yeah, of course it is. And, there's a lot of bills on transgender rights in Florida being passed simultaneously. A lot of them deal with schools. I think this bathroom one is one of the first ones that we've encountered at the FGC because the FGC is very LGBTQ. It's very diverse. And I think that the statement that CEO made, was warranted. I think the rule specifically is it makes it a second misdemeanor, which is really weird. And also CEO takes place in Daytona, which was every time I've gone, I've only went once. And I'm like, okay, I'm literally never going back. It was not a good experience. So now that it's codified in law and enforceable from a government standpoint, I'm like, okay, I don't think that I'll be attending. And I think that one of the main concerns, right, is, well, first of all, to answer your question, obviously he doesn't deserve any hate for this. Like on both sides, I will say, like, just to be totally clear, like Jabali has no control over the laws. He can't really move the tournament at this point. But that's like minor compared to like if you're criticizing what Jabali said or what CEO said. We'll call CEO said. That's super whack. And honestly, like, not like, is that even real? Like, are you really complaining about that? Like, what are you doing? You know, I feel like overall the statement has been, that's a good statement put up by CEO. Like, it's a good thing they did that. And the people that are hating on CEO or Jabali, you know, it's easy to get a lot of hate, I think, and look at the hate that Jabali is getting. But by and large, I think the community is on Jabali's side on this one, on CEO side, excuse me.
Yeah. No, and it's like I think I saw an issue that very much seems like it's echoing this. And by the way, we have the statement by CEO, and the quote is: "The majority of CEO attendees and staff live in Florida. We recognize our state is problematic for our community, but it's not realistic for us to leave, and we won't give up on the community living here. We're doing our best to create the safest and most fun events we can, and we will continue to communicate directly about concerns with the venues, vendors, and community members we work with to try and craft an enjoyable attendee experience there." And it's so sad because ever since CEO got moved to Daytona, it's that issue where like the venue is great, the location is great, but the people surrounding it outside of like the FGC bubble are problematic, and it's been causing problems. Yeah. And this was after after Jabali signed a 5-year deal with the city, so it's very unfortunate that they're not able to move out sooner. But this reminds me a lot of the, like, I think the instant response to throw shade at CEO and Jabali kind of reminds me about the same kind of response that a lot of people gave to the Harry Potter game, where and understandably so, right? I think the trans community is constantly under attack, more so than any other community at this point. And I'm Jewish, so we've been through it a couple times, but like this is happening now. So I think I totally understand like the self-preservation aspect of it, of being like, hey, you don't support us because you're still in Florida. What the fuck's wrong with you? But at the same time, it's like they can't. They can't.
Yeah, they can't. And also, like, it's called Community Effort Orlando, right? Like Jabali started it. He didn't even start it, actually. He picked it up after basically the old TO just run and gun, right, with all the money, from my understanding. Basically, they said, screw it, I'm not running this thing. And Jabali said, no, we're running it, and ran it in like a garage, like a hangar or something. And it's called CEO, and like I think Florida deserves a major for the people that live there, right? In Orlando, Tampa. I lived in Florida for 5-6 years, right? I got the hell out when I smelled shit was going wrong. About 7 years ago. I'm like, this state sucks. I'm out of here, honestly. But like, there's nothing wrong with having a major in Florida, speaking honestly, right? I think that the reality is that like, when you have a major in Florida, and especially when you're locked into a deal, like how do you navigate that world of like, you need to support transgender people, which Jabali does and CEO does, because the FGC is very LGBTQ plus. But like, how do you navigate that waters? And the answer is you can't do it without making some people upset. And I think that CEO is walking the line as best they can, and not even walking the line, they're stepped pretty firmly over the line, right? But they're giving the statements that need to be given, I think. And I feel for Jabali, who has to deal with like things that are completely out of his control, right? And like, you can't control the culture of Florida, which is it naturally guides the laws of Florida, right? Like you just can't control it, and it's a shit situation. The only thing we can do is like, if you're trans, like, consider not going, like that's really the best we can do.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. And it's like being stuck in between a rock and a hard place, right? That's the saying. And reminder too that CEO Taku also is in Florida as well, Orlando. And CEO Taku has always been one of my favorite tournaments. This plaque on the wall, can I point it right? There it is. This plaque is from me helping to run CEO Taku back in like 2016, when the first year it was getting live. And like, I love that tournament. I actually helped to name the tournament. I remember the Facebook thread. I'm like, you should call it CEO Taku. And he's like, all right, sure, fuck it, yeah. So I have a lot of love for that tournament, and it would be really hard to give it up. I don't think I'm going to, honestly. Like, I still love it. And
I'm lucky enough to be like a passing trans person, right, which is nice. So like I think I'm able to go, but I totally get why other people wouldn't, and like it's a scary situation to be in. You know, it's
Yeah.
Jabali's doing everything he can. Honestly, there's not much more he can do, and I'm glad he made this statement.
Yeah, for sure. Now, and like Steve is mentioning, like Florida is not the only place that this is happening, and hopefully sooner rather than later, this trend will stop. And I say trend like I'm diminishing it. I don't mean it that way.
Yeah, it's very much like trans people have been asking for mainstream recognition of like what it is to be trans, and then it's like, oh shit, like like this ain't good. People now know what it means. They're trying to stop it. So nothing you can do but figure out what the hell to do. Like day by day.
Yeah. Well, luckily, like you said, our community, our little bubble, the FGC, is like super welcoming and super. What's the? I have real. I'm having a really inclusive. Thank you. Inclusive and diverse. My word recall has been real bad today. But it's we're trying. We'll try our best to move forward. Now, in a lighter note, to move forward. So Steve, Ace King Offsuit in our chat, former co-host, now retired dad. I posted something in our Discord asking people to ask you questions, and his first thing was he wanted to know what was the deal with the Cloud Sephiroth artist.
Oh yeah. So, oh my God, I can't believe you remembered that. I was a manager at a company that basically they taught fitness entrepreneurs how to build businesses. So it was very much like, hey, like don't give away your shit for free, and like here's some workout plans and how to get people to sign up. And I was hiring a production designer, someone to help me out with like, okay, I make the art, and then they produce all the content in all the different forms. And someone submitted the resume, and it was Cloud and Sephiroth in relations. It was literally a DeviantArt link to the Cloud and Sephiroth having relations on the front page as their latest art. And I was okay, that is not what I'm looking for, but that's sick, nasty. Sure, why not? Like in a cool way. I'm like, that's cool. That's a cool thing that you submitted. But yeah, that was a fun memory. Being a hiring manager for art is always fun. It's always fun.
It feels like time and place is like no longer things people consider. That's really funny.
Yeah, I was in Florida, so you never know.
Oh yeah, very true. Very true.
Yeah. Can't believe you remembered that.
Yeah, shout outs to Steve. Yeah, that's Steve right there.
Shout outs to Steve.
Okay, so I wanna start from the very past. I think I got to know of you through Dragon Ball Fighters, right? Like our picture, which I was a dummy and I forgot to ask you for a headshot, so I used the really old picture. I apologize about that.
That's okay. No worries.
You were at the Summit of Power. I saw you compete. I saw you commentate and everything. Like, where did your journey into the FGC start?
So it was 2010. I was watching an IGN gameplay video of actually I think it was on Giant Bomb. I've been a Giant Bomb fan for a long time, and I'm like, all right, they're playing BlazBlue. What the hell is this? This looks cool. And I looked it up, and they're like, what's better, BlazBlue with Lai Chi Fei Ling or Street Fighter? And like they were talking about how like Street Fighter's not as cool, and BlazBlue has a bunch of buttons, and I'm like, I like pressing buttons. I should play this game. So I bought it, got in, bought a stick. I had my first day of the FGC down. It was the day Diablo 3 released, so I went and no one was there. I think it's like 2011, and I'm like, wow, 2011, 2012, and I'm like, wow, no one's here. Is this community small? And it's Tampa. Like Tong Lee lives there, right? Like Tong Lee was running stuff in Tampa all the way back then. Shout out to Tong, by the way, like fucking godlike guy. Mm-hmm. And I started there. Was a Persona player for about 5-6 years. Made a few top eights, but honestly was not a super great player. And then took a little bit of a break to get my career going. And then Dragon Ball came out, and I'm like, this game is so sick nasty. And I grinded the hell out of that game for like a year and a half. Just grinded. I got really good at the game really quickly.
Mm-hmm. And have you kept? This is me not being quite in tune to the anime community at that time. Sure. Did you keep playing Dragon Ball FighterZ like through like the other seasons, or was it just like a first couple years thing and then you moved on to something else?
So I stopped right before the first season LCQ, which was one of the tournaments of all time. We'll put it that way. Yeah, I stopped right after that because my work was getting crazy, and also I met my now wife. So like I stopped. Cool. You know, you can't do a 9 to 5, which I was doing all the way through season 1. I was doing a 9 to 5, more like a 9 to 7, plus commute like an hour and a half each way, and be in a relationship and play games professionally. So I chose love my wife over my love of fighting games, which I you know, no, amazing thing. Like the right choice in every way, shape, form, and concept, right? But you know, now that I'm unemployed, I'm kind of back into fighting games again. It took a little bit, but yeah, I stopped just because of that. Honestly, it was too much to juggle. Gotcha.
Well, good for you for, you know, prioritizing, right? Because it's hard to, you know, look at your life and being like, what do I really need?
Yeah.
Yeah. So good on you for making the correct choice.
I don't do half committals. I do full committals, right? So like you can't just be like, cool, I got this, bye. You know, like it takes time and it takes energy, and you know, I put my energy where I wanted it to go, and at the time it wasn't fighting games.
For sure. Now, let's get into like the now. Sure. I know you just started your a journey through Strive, and you've been documenting it, and it's been very entertaining to see. Before Strive, were you playing DNF?
I was, yeah. So DNF Duel, when it came out, I grinded for about a month or two. And I still play off and on, about like, I don't know, like 5-10 hours a month, right? Like just enough to keep fresh in the game. I've been more commentating DNF Duel because I really like that community. The community is like super names you aren't familiar with, but are really good at fighting games. And I actually really like the game. Excuse me, I really like the game. So yeah, I'm doing commentary. I'm actually doing commentary at Combo Breaker for likely DNF Duel. Don't have the final schedules yet, but yeah, it's DNF Duel's a great game. I love it, and I enjoy supporting the community, and I will always hit the sticks with anyone who asks for that game. It's a hell of a lot of fun. It gets a bad rap, but I love it.
Yeah, and I know you well, first of all, what did you think of the Arc World Tour finals?
It was, I mean, the matches were sick. Like I love the matches. Like we saw Vanguard. Like what a what a turn of events. But the character got pretty damn good. And yeah, I'm sad my boy Mystic Smash didn't win. But other than that, like Goichi's the GOAT as always, and Strive was hell fun to watch too. Like oh my god, Skill was cooking with soul. But yeah, my bracket predictions, I was right on Goichi and Mochi winning, so I'm happy about that.
Nice. How about that production value though?
The production value was sick.
This is me fishing for compliments because I was working the content production for that.
Nice. No, it actually was really good. Like cool. Every time I see Ramlethal, I see Zondo going.
Yes.
Yeah, those things were sick.
It was so funny because like I'm the one fighting game person in my team, in the content team for that company, and as soon as I saw Arc World Tour Finals, I was like, hey, I'm gonna do this, and everybody was like, okay. Yep. And they just kind of went along with my wacky ideas. So
I legit was like, so I had a somewhat negative reaction to the DNF news, which is we don't have to get into, but I was like, hey,
I wanted to get into it.
Oh, okay, perfect. But I was like, hey, the production staff fucking killed it. Like the production and the players and the matches were so godlike.
Yeah. So let's get into like the DNF communications afterwards, I guess. They announced the character and they announced like some new systems, but that was about it. And I know your reaction. I remember seeing your reaction on social media being not a good one, which I don't blame you. But what were you kind of expecting that made you upset?
So I was expecting a release schedule of, like, I wanted Spectre to be out that day. And like the schedule they have and the things that they showed, I'm like happy with. I just wish the schedule is what's wrong, honestly. Like the timeline for the release of the characters is good. It just starts way too late because like not even a defined date. It said like Spectre will release in summer of 2023, and I'm like, well, summer could be June, it could be like August, right? Like we're talking like late August it could potentially be. Doesn't fall start like September? I'm like, this feels a little. This honestly like felt like kind of bad. And I work in game production, and like for me, I know how long characters take, and they take a long time. But I was like, wow, y'all didn't even start production on this until like the game was out and it sold, huh? Like you had to wait all the way until then to get started, and it's like it's not a good look, honestly.
Yeah. It felt like Nexon like wasn't completely into the idea of still working on the game until they saw the reception at the World Tour Finals.
I think that those characters and the systems they announced, that stuff is planned pretty far in advance. But like how do I put this? I worked in mobile games for a long time, right? And in mobile games, what happens is the game is a success, and you test it, make sure it's a success before you invest more money in it, and you need a return on your investment for every single dollar spent. And I think that waiting and seeing how it does until producing content is not the way you do console games, and it's certainly not the way you do fighting games, right? Like you can't wait a year after release to release your first DLC character. Like at that point, you're at like BlazBlue release schedule. That was like 10, 12 years ago, right? Oh my God, 12 years ago. Holy crap. 14 years ago, 2009, right?
Yeah.
Like that release schedule is so old hat, and you can't release one character at a time. It have to be like, here's version 2, and it's released a year and a half later with 5 characters. Like even that would be better, but like season 1 starting a year after release is not it.
Yeah, no, and I guess they took it extra hard that DNF wasn't a main game for Evo again this year, but it's still going to be a side tournament, I believe, and there's still like tournaments happening everywhere. Yeah. So I genuinely really enjoy watching that game. I played it for a little bit. It was very fun, but I get very frustrated. So I'll just stick to watching. But
sure.
And I even lost to a coworker who doesn't play fighting games, and I got so pissed.
Behind every line I say on commentary, I'm like, oh, that was some sick mix. But it wouldn't happen to me, though, because I'm not playing. I'm up here. Damn, you got hit by that? Wouldn't have happened to me. I just commentate, bro. I play it, but, I ain't up here.
Oh, man. Well, here's hoping that DNF, when they start releasing stuff, it'll pick back up for sure.
It is a great game marred by a rough production schedule, and the community echoes the feelings that I have by and large. Not every single person, but a lot of them do. Like, we all want to see the game succeed because we all really like it. So,
for sure. Oh, no, and Steve linked the Marvel bars in the chat. All right, I'm getting PTSD just looking at that, so I'm going to not click that link anymore. But, so, from DNF... Now I see you're like very deep in the Strive.
Yes.
You showed off like a little bit of Bedman stuff. You and I played online. We did like a little Bedman set, which was very fun. Now I see you playing May, and I see you like really grinding. I think one of the series you're doing is like you're doing race to top 100.
That's right. We're trying to get top 100 in Strive. That is a hard mountain to climb, but I'm climbing it. We're at 1,800 elo which is not too bad considering I started 2.5 months ago. So we're getting there.
Yeah, and out of genuine curiosity, did you play Strive beforehand at all, or like
only the beta?
Avoid it? Okay, so what brought you into it now? Was it like the fact that DNF is so far down the line?
No, I don't think so. I think it's because, DNF, I was never grabbed as a competitor, right? Mm-hmm. Like, my life wasn't situated for it. I just bought a house, I moved, like, I was setting up. Strive right now is in the perfect position, right? Like, my portfolio site's done, I'm applying to jobs, I'm big chilling, and I'm in this, content production life, right? And I think Strive is a great game for a few reasons. One, it's popular, but that's not even the big thing. It feels much better than Season 1. Season 1 had a lot of, like, sameness issues where, like, May's most optimal combo was like close slash into like up dolphin like mid screen, and I'm like, this is so lame. They verified they gave a lot of diversity to characters that I think that was needed, and the thing that made me play again actually is the competition. I really missed what I missed about Dragon Ball was the homies, right? Like I really missed hanging out with people and playing and grinding and just having fun. And Strive is what I can do that with, right? Like I can hang out with my friends, I can chill with homies and relax. And I remember specifically what made me start again. I'd ask top players like, hey, Vineeth, like, do you like the game? And he's like, yeah, I like it. It's good, huh? And, I'd ask, it was Apology Man. And I'd ask Leffen, like, Leffen, do you like the game? He's like, yeah, I like it. It's good. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. SQ, do you like it? Yeah, it's a good game. And I'm like, you're all fucking lying to me. Like, you're just saying that because I'm here. And I was at a bar with Lord Knight and Nitro NY. And I remember specifically this moment. Lord Knight, so if you don't know, when he eats his wings, he eats them so far to the bone that he snaps them in half and sucks out the marrow. And he was and like sucking out the marrow, and Nitro's like, I just want to play more gear. And he's like, I want to play more gear too. And there's this guy in the back singing like a terrible to like mid rendition of Wonderwall on an acoustic guitar in a bar. And this was during Strive Top 8. Because if you're at a major, the play is you don't eat after Top 8, you eat during Top 8. Because if you eat after, it's going to take hours to get food. There's going to be 20 people. It's going to be a nightmare. So we're all sitting at the bar watching, and he's cracking the marrow of the bone. This guy's doing like, and they're just talking about how much they love it. And then something happens in Strive, and LK just goes, let's go, over Wonderwall guy. And I'm like, okay. They're excited to each other. It's not just saying to me it's good. Like they're having fun with each other, and they're talking about how much they want to grind the game. And I'm like, I miss this. Like I miss having fun playing fighting games with people and being like, I want to play this game over and over again. So I gave it a shot, and I'm like, okay, they're right. This game is fun now. Like I actually really enjoy it. It's not just like the community, is also the game itself. The game's really nice.
Awesome. And sadly, not all is well in Paradise, right? Because like now they're having the issues with Hackermans and like lobbies being unplayable since the Xbox edition. It's gotten better.
Yeah, at least Hackerman hasn't showed up, and the lobbies are a lot better.
Oh, cool. And I haven't played since like the newer update, just because like I think I just got a little frustrated with the connection issues. But from what I hear, it's slightly better. Not all that terrible.
When Batman was released, it was unplayable. I would give it a playable rating, have another tab open. Like it went from like taking like 25 minutes to find a match to taking like 5 or like 4. Okay. It's not nearly as bad as it was. Training mode matches still suck, but like if you're sitting at a cabinet, people now know to walk up to cabinets, and you can play it now. You can play the game. Okay. Like I stream it, no problem. I don't really have too many issues.
Okay, cool. That's good to hear. Hopefully I'll hop back into it soon.
Yeah. You still get a lot of disconnects, but like it's not nearly as bad as it was.
Yeah, especially because the one thing that made me really sad is at Texas Showdown was the first time in my Strive career, that I didn't make it out of pools. Even worse, I went 0-2. So now I need to like prove myself at Combo Breaker.
we all got 0-2 at some point. I went 0-2 at my first Dragon Ball Z tournament.
Really?
Yeah, I have anxiety issues, which is why I get cooked a lot. And until I make top 8. When I make top 8, I'm like, okay, I'm good. Like I'm not afraid of losing anymore. But when I'm afraid of losing, oh my god, I get so nervous. Yeah. I went 0-2 at my first tournament because of that. This person would do 5LL and then either do 2M or level 3 me. So I was like, what do I like? He would do 5LL, 5LL, or 5LL, wait, level 3. And I'm like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. Like I either counter poke him and die, or I stand still and keep blocking. And I'm like, oh my god, what a silly problem to have. But it was early on. I was nervous. I wasn't tough shit then. I'm a little bit, I'm a tougher shit now. I'm good.
Yeah, and I feel like if our brains are wired the same way, like I think they are, like you think of all of the solutions immediately after the match is over, right? It's like, oh, I should have just, jumped or whatever.
I feel like when I play a match, I sit down and I go into whoosh, and like my vision grays, like I'm in an RPG, and like I come out the other side and I'm like, okay, I don't know what happened. I remember one specific moment, but to me, it's all anxiety. That's all it is. Yeah. It's all anxiety. It's not what should I have done. It should have been, I should have been in a better mental state. Because I know when I cook, but and I'm sure you're in a similar way, right?
Well, it depends.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not like as like good of a player, so well, sometimes this happened last year at Combo Breaker, where for whatever reason, Pay Money Honey was the dude that I was playing. This was my first match for Strive, and I lost 2-0 like free. He was playing chip. I lost 2-0. I was getting up, unplugging my controller, and the TO goes, "Oh, it's best of 5. It's first to 3." It's like, "Oh shit." Won everything, like pulled the classic, and then made it out of pools after that. And I wish I could tell you what I did or like what happened. I think because I was just like, all right, I lost, whatever, fuck this.
Yeah.
I think like whatever happened there is what like made the magic happen. However, that tangent aside, I want to talk about Dragon Ball FighterZ because there is like the looming, well, maybe looming's not the right word, the impending rollback update coming.
Yeah.
Do you think that, well, first of all, like the game, I almost said like, do you think that's going to revitalize the game? But that's not what I mean, because the game is still very much alive. You know, it's main game at EVO. There's endless tournaments I'm seeing for it. Like, you know, it's going to be a big thing, a combo breaker. What do you think will happen when this rollback patch hits? Like, is it going to be like, is it going to be like the big Dragon Ball FighterZ boom that I'm envisioning?
So, one, this patch is taking forever, which is fine. I feel like it's going like SSJ 5, right? Like Goku's been powering up for like 260 days. Just like the Goku, the rollback's coming, Goku. Like, but anyways, after he's done powering up and we're finally hit with a SSJ rollback edition, I think it's gonna really. It will revive the scene, honestly. Like, I think again, revive, quote unquote. But, like, there's kind of a lull in online tournaments right now in the anime community. Strive has fallen off a little bit until the server situations are resolved. And Dragon Ball FighterZ, you know, has always gotten viewers, right? Like, it's Dragon Ball. It gets viewers by the nature of it being Dragon Ball. Strive has sort of, like, also started to break through where, like, that game honestly sold like 5 to 10 times as much as it should have, quote unquote, meaning IP based only. And it's starting to bleed outside, but DBFZ bleeds outside the fighting game community in a way that I'm very familiar with, because I remember Twitch chat and my Twitter DMs all the time. But it'll definitely get its fair share of fairly high stakes for online tournaments showings, right? And I think that, like, when it's back, people will play again, because right now playing online in that game is not good or fun. Even when delay-based netcode was around, like, that game was popping off online, like always, just like 10 64-man lobbies. Like, it gets around.
Yeah. No, there's a part of me that really hopes that the party mode, where it's like one player plays each character, so it's a 3v3. I really hope that mode takes off, because like that would be hilarious and in a really good way. I used to have a really scrubby Ginyu, and my favorite thing to do was just level 3 people and just watch them quit after hitting them with a level 3. My favorite thing.
That's great. I like that. Ginyu is such a godlike character. My honest hope is that they re-release it as like an Ultimate Edition, right, where you can get the rollback, the DLC, maybe like 1 or 2 additional small features, but it's just branded as like, hey, like, this is the ultimate version of Dragon Ball FighterZ. After this, we are no longer supporting the game, patching it for bugs. This is it. Enjoy. You know, like that's what I'm hoping for. I would repurchase the game for that, honestly, with all the DLC included, just to be like, this is the last version you'll ever need. Go nuts. Yeah,
that makes sense, honestly, and I hope that comes to fruition as well whenever that happens.
The game deserves it. It's actually really it's a ridiculously good game. Like, I love that game to the bottom of my heart. I just released a video on it, actually. Like, I love that game.
Oh, cool. So speaking of video, let's get into content creation stuff. You mentioned since you unfortunately lost your job, you've been focusing more on the content creation and the things, which has been super cool. Like I said earlier, like, I saw your credit card points racket, as it were, like, to help people get some discounts on flights and how to travel to tournaments, which is super duper useful. We watched your specific explanation on the SOCD shenanigans that was happening a little bit earlier, a month ago. Nice. So, with how you're approaching content now, has anything changed from like when you were a professional player? Like, do you view games differently now that you're seeing them through the lens of, oh, let me make content for this way?
Well, I think when I was a player, I specifically didn't make content because I didn't have time. And streaming was difficult, right? Because my job involved talking to a lot of people. I was the technical art director for a mobile ad studio, right? So I was like literally in meetings all the time and managing people, doing designs. I didn't have the energy to stream. I think now that I have the energy to stream, and now that I've changed from it, like into a content creator, that also like I am also a competitor still. Like let's not get that confused.
Yes.
And not saying like you are in any way, but the lens is different because you're constantly on the hunt for new things to talk about. And I think for me specifically, it's really easy to fall into the trap of talking about negativity, and I have in the past, and it's something I'm trying to avoid, not because it gets more views. In fact, it gets less views to be positive on things than negative. But specifically, like, what can you talk about that is original? What can you talk about that's engaging and like gets views? And I think the answer is it's okay not to get views all the time, right? Like, make the content that you want to watch. And for me, it's like super chill, vibing content. And I think that the FGC needs more of that. And so, it's just fun. I don't know. Like, I've always been in content production at work, so like editing videos doesn't take long for me, and like just find some stuff to talk about it, be educated on the subject, and go nuts. Like, that's just what I do,
Yeah, and you're doing this all on your own, right? Or do you have like an editor, or do you have your team? Anything?
Nope.
Okay.
I do it all on my own. So I wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning, sit down with my coffee 8:30. Usually, I'm right now. I'm playing Tactics Ogre in the morning. The game's sick. I sit down, edit videos for an hour, stream for about 5 hours, edit videos for 2 hours, and then Tuesday and Wednesday I do it all day. So I treat it like a 9 to 5, 9 to 6, and just run content all day.
Yeah. Now, to your point about finding things to talk about and like kind of the content ideation stuff. As far as FGC content is concerned, it feels like, and I could be completely wrong about this, but to me, it feels like there's only like two types of like mainstream FGC content, right? Which is either educational, where it's like, oh, here's how you get better at this, or here's how you do X, Y, and Z, or like executional of like, match highlights, match footage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Are there any content avenues or like discussions that you think should exist in FGC content that doesn't exist right now?
I think the hardest thing about FGC content to do right is serializing it, right? Brian F is the only person that's really done it, right, with his road to Grandmaster or whatever. I forget the exact ranking, but like the way he does content is beautiful. Both him and Double A, do amazing work, and I'm very jealous of it because it's exactly the type of stuff that I think makes sense for the FGC. It's quick to produce, right? Because it's just match footage. I mean, it takes time, but it's not crazy. It's like the golden goose, right? Because there's a lot of FGC players. You're right; they do either educational, which gets some views, sometimes it doesn't. My educational content has done the best on my channel, but then the execution stuff, right? It feels very siloed into those two buckets, right?
Yeah.
And I think the challenge for content creators is how do you serialize and make it easy to produce, right? Because you can't talk about a lot of FGC content creators, right? Because like the nature of content is when you're playing fighting games, you're like, oh man, oh nice. Like that's what you talk about, right?
Yeah.
And Brian F has translated that into content, and good for him, right? The other type is like, oh yeah, top 10, what Jamcrafts does, right? Like top 10 this, top 10 that. Like talking about what players think about modern controls and all that stuff is well and good, but it's very news, right? So I think let's add news to the bucket and say it's really right now one of those three.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing one of those three, or you're not that guy that does the crazy DBFZ videos, it's kind of hard to find like if you know what I'm talking about, the Shogunmu, I forget his name, but
yeah, I think
like
I've
the
seen
animations. Yeah, those are like really like the three main silos, and people just kind of pick one and go with it, which is that's fine, right? Like it's just a matter of like building a brand and building like content that people enjoy and getting it out there, which I'm still new to. I'm figuring it out.
Yeah. And in that same vein, do you think, in your very honest opinion, do you think FGC content is good as it is right now?
It's not the content I watch.
Yep.
I watch Hearthstone content more than anything. I watch Hearthstone content. I watch Mario Maker. Weirdly, I watch I watch shit like that because like for me, I like to watch content that I fall asleep to. Like I put on subtitles and I just pass out, right?
Yeah.
And FGC content is by nature high energy because it's by nature a high energy game. Which is why I make content that's a little bit more chill, or why I'm trying to make content that's a little bit more chill, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that is missing. So for me, do I think it's good? I think it's good, but I think it's not for me, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And what is the future of FGC content? Do you foresee like any like new trends? Like it was really funny because even this morning on our morning stream, I looked at FGC TikTok, and all I could find was one person who was describing like historic moments, right? Like somebody like describing moment 37. Evo moment 37. Like there's like, you know, the hot take of like, oh, this character type is the worst, or like people, or like the coolest thing I think we saw was like there was somebody who like did their own like fighting game intro, right? Like they like were super dressed up and they came in and like and they like invited other people to stitch it or whatever. So like, do you think there is going to be like a trend or something? Because like there's going to be there's an incoming wave of shenanigans that's about to hit with Street Fighter 6 hitting.
Oh yeah.
Do you think there's going to be like one format or one thing that's going to take off, or do you think it's going to be like a more like diverse with whoever is making content?
I mean, I can tell you right now, I'll put all my chips on black that the most popular Street Fighter video will be some guy named like Johnny Donuts who has like 8 bajillion followers and isn't in the FGC being like, I'm Ryu, and he comes out walking like this, right? And he's got a headband on. It's like, I'm Cammy, and he's sitting there like this, and that's going to be like the 8 million view video. I think for Street Fighter specifically, I don't know what the trends will be. I mean, like, I wish I knew, otherwise I'd hop on it, right? I imagine that single player content is going to be a lot more prevalent. I imagine that, I will say this, if someone can figure out how to serialize Street Fighter and not constantly look for new avenues and new things to talk about, like if there's a series, like they will strike gold. That's why Brian F has struck gold, right? He found success in a series because the game supported it, and he is a very likable guy who's been doing this for a long time, right? If someone can find that may not be the quote unquote trend, but they will do the best, because you can put out one video a day, it gets 50 to 60,000 views, and you rake it in, right? Like that's what success looks like in the FGC. It's not this constant blippy chase for clout, like that. You get 100,000 views and you make like $200. Like who cares, right? Like it's all about like constantly producing content that people enjoy and watch it over and over again. That's why I like the streamers I like, because they release one 10-minute video that's super chill, and it does really well because it only gets like 50K views only. TM. But they release like 2 a day, right? Or 1 a day.
Right.
That's where the content is in Street Fighter, honestly, from my perspective. There will be trends, there'll be top 10 whatevers, there'll be here's my intro. There will be like, here's this crazy character and like, welcome to blah blah blah. Like, but I think that's the content that's gonna go well, because it's the content that'll last through all of Street Fighter 6 life cycle.
Yeah. And do you think with the incoming craziness of Street Fighter 6, do you think there's going to I maybe this is a dumb question to ask, but feel free to give me a dumb answer. With this new Street Fighter 6, and it seems like this specific Street Fighter, which we've discussed on the show quite a bit, is catering more to bringing new people to Street Fighter, right? Like they finally like brought a fighting game to the 21st century. There's RPG elements, open world stuff, like that's all like kind of meant to funnel people into like playing the fighting game. Do you think we're going to see a rise of like a new age of the FGC, of people who like either are creating content and are not FGC adjacent and then turn FGC adjacent, or do you think like a lot of people outside of the FGC are going to start finding FGC content because of it, because of Street Fighter 6?
I think the latter. I think that there aren't going to be a lot of creators that are like, I'm in the FGC now. Like that doesn't, like they're content creators. If they start making Street Fighter 6 content, chances are they're variety streamers or variety content people to begin with. I think that like there's been a few League of Legends players that have turned, like, doesn't like Dyrus play like Uniel or something like that now? Like someone plays Uniel now that does that. Like that'll always exist. But It's definitely going to be the latter of like people will get into FGC content and start watching it because of Street Fighter 6. Like that game is going to be bigger than I think we ever thought possible. And looking at the love that, like, I'm an art nerd, like I'm a designer.
Yeah.
Looking at the love that's gone into the design and the style and let me say that correctly. The style of that game. The style of that game is so sick nasty that I can't imagine the game not having the same amount of love put into it. And I think we're seeing it on all fronts. And it won't be like 5 or released with like a, just a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
This game's going to blow up. And I'm very confident in saying that. So it'll bring a lot of people to the FGC. And I'm excited, not only for the content, but for them to show up to tournaments. Like, that's what I'm really excited about as a competitor.
Yeah, no, and it's funny that we were talking about CEO earlier because, like, that is the first big major for Street Fighter 6. So I'm super curious to see how that unfolds. I had something in my brain and it's now gone. I think, like, the big... Actually, let me ask you this. Let's go...
Sure.
Let's go towards another avenue. You mentioned... content creators like Brian F, who have kind of like found their thing. Who are some of the other like content creators? It doesn't have to be FGC necessarily, but who are some other content creators that you look at and say something to the effect of, I want to do that, or like this is the kind of stuff I wanted to get into?
Yeah, I think the top 2 in my mind. Brian Kibler and Trump SC. Trump SC being the Hearthstone player. I really enjoy, again, like I love serialized, easily digestible content.
Yeah.
The other ones I watch regularly that I look up to are Pajia Panga, who is like a Mario streamer, and I'm like, okay, cool. Why do I watch this? I don't even like Mario, but like it's just something to fucking watch, and like it's super chill, and I'm down for it. And like everything relates to it's super chill. I think the only person I watch that's like, oh my god, OMG. I also watch Jam Crofts too. Like that's the other streamer I watch. And I always check out whenever I have like what is a question I can have. I always look at Diaphone and Lord Knight also like for their content. But I'm not a regular viewer. I just look at them for videos that I find interesting, which is fine. It's a good place to be in. But again, like that's why serialized content does well. For me, anyways, right? Like it turns me into a regular viewer. The person that I think I find the funniest, and I'm like, damn, I wish I could be like them. I fucking love Simple Flips, dude. Simple Flips is so funny. I love Simple Flips. If only I could be more like Simple Flips, then I would be a happy person. Yeah. Every day I wake up going, why am I not Simple Flips? No, I love that guy. He's a good person. I actually really like Simple Flips, but yeah.
Okay, final question because we're a little bit over. I'm sorry for holding you over.
No worries.
We're 9 minutes over. It's the end of the world. Question from the chat. Well, first of all, actually, Steve Ace King Offsuit asked, did you say DGR?
DJR? I don't think I said DJR, no.
Okay, no. Okay. I didn't think so, but I was questioning myself there. Question from the chat from Tap2GG. What's your go-to Taco Bell order? And if not Taco Bell, what's your go-to comfort food order?
They changed my Taco Bell order on me, unfortunately. So I'll tell you what it used to be, right? Mm-hmm. It was 2 soft tacos, ideally supreme, but those got expensive for no fucking reason. Mm-hmm. And a 7-layer burrito, right? So you have the appetizer, the burrito, and the closer. With Diablo sauce, by the way, which sometimes hot, sometimes Diablo. Diablo sauce kind of tastes weird sometimes, but that was my old. Now I do, I'm on a diet. I'm on Fit Life now. So I do a Taco Bell Power Bowl and a taco, or I do a Crunchwrap Supreme and a taco. Keep it simple, you know. Although now they have like that $5 thing, and I'm just like, whatever, just give me. I don't care. Give me those Dorito tacos. It's $5. What am I gonna do? Yeah.
Oh, so speaking of fitness and stuff, I'm super curious because I'm like getting into it as well. Like, what kind of stuff are you doing, or have been doing?
So I got into fitness playing Persona 5, actually, and I'm like, these cutscenes take too long. I'm going to buy some resistance bands and lift during these cutscenes. So I did some resistance band liftings. Now I do Olympic weightlifting. So I hit the weights, hit the gym. I have I bought a barbell setup for my basement, and I do squats, bench presses, Olympic weightlifting stuff, which is like, they call it like... bulletproofing, which is like injury prevention. So like lots of light weights, heavy reps, then like heavy weights, a small amount of reps, and I just go ham.
Gotcha. Do you have any PRs?
I do. So I have a 180 squat PR now, 180 back
Nice.
squat PR. I hit my cap on deadlifts at 200 pounds because I'm out of weights. So I need to get some new weights to do deadlifts. And I can do, I have to look at my numbers. I think it's a 135 or a 145 bench.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Damn,
I
that's
still can't do a
badass.
pull up though. One day. One day I'll do a pull up.
Man, I did P90X when I turned 21 because I was like, I was dead set on not being out of breath every time I stood up. And the entire 90 days, the one fruit of the 90 days of P90X was that I could do 2 pull-ups.
That's sick.
Granted,
That's sick.
I'm like 6 foot, I weigh 300 pounds, so I consider that
Sure.
a goal.
No, I mean that's godlike, right? Like, believe it or not, there are some women that like can never do a pull up, which I'm like, oh no, am I one of them? Like, is that the situation I'm in? I can do banded pull ups. I do them like twice, like once or twice a week, like for the past year and a half. But we'll see.
Yeah, I used to use a chair. Like you just put like
Yeah.
your heel on a chair and then you just like move the chair away slowly. And like
Yep.
the easier they get, but it's still like
Yep. Nope.
do one and that's it.
I mean, hey, like one is better than I can do. Like hell yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have to compare PRs when I actually start lifting because I'm working
sure.
towards the Olympic lifting stuff. So hopefully
Nice.
we'll
Yeah.
get there sooner rather than later.
It's so funny being like, yeah, I've lifted for this many months, and then like anytime a guy is like, I just started lifting, I can do a bench of like 160. I'm like, fuck, that's
Yep.
right. Like y'all are privileged.
Privilege, yeah. Hilariously enough, I experienced for the first time we have a hip press machine at the gym I go to, and I experienced for the first time being able to lift something that's like above my body weight.
Nice.
And I was taking off plates, and one of the trainers goes, "Wow, you're strong." And the first things that came out of my mouth, and like I don't know the trainer very well, so like I probably shouldn't have joked about it, but I was like, "No, that's just privilege." And then I walked away, and it was like, "Damn,
That's a godlike
like
thing to say, though. Like, that's godlike.
that could go really bad for somebody who I don't know."
That's true, but that's a very real thing to say. I
Yes.
think. Like I would have laughed. I would have laughed. I'd have been like, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yohosie, final question, like real question. Sure. What's next? What's next on the Yohosie docket?
Ooh. Alls I will say is stay tuned. That's all I can say. It's a very cool thing that I can't talk about quite yet, but stay tuned. You'll probably hear of it. Yeah.
Nice.
Fun things.
And where do people stay tuned at? I know your Twitter is Yohosie FGC because I looked it up. Well, what's the YouTube and the Twitches?
So the YouTube is I think /Yohosie. If not, it's Yohosie FGC. Twitch is YouTube is /Yohosie FGC. Twitch is /Yohosie. I release content. I used to do like 4 videos a week. Now I do 1 because I'm trying to polish it up a little bit. But Twitch, I'm on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 9 to 5. I stream ish, like 10 to 4, 10 to 3, 11 to 2. It's somewhere around there. So yeah, you can follow me there.
Cool. And are you traveling anytime soon for a tournament?
Yes, I will be at Combo Breaker.
Oh, cool. I'll give you a high five then or a fist bump.
For sure. Let's do it.
Awesome. So, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to come hang out with me for a little bit. This has been a long time coming, and I'm glad it finally happened.
Yeah, of course.
And I'd love to have you again in the near future if you're up for it.
Yeah, totally. Hit me up. I'm always down to talk. And it's been an absolute pleasure on my side too. And then thank you to the chat for watching also. I'll throw that in there as well.
The pleasure is all ours. I'll speak for my chat on that one. Any final words before we part ways?
No, man, just like I would almost say like be excellent to each other, but like I'm Bill and Ted, you know. Be excellent to each other, bros. No, honestly, just like I hope everyone has a good day. I hope everyone has a good week, and yeah, have a good one, y'all. That's that's it. Just be nice to each other, no bully, and may your games keep winning. There you go. How about that? Just keep on winning.
Keep on winning.
Just go get them, champ.
The most inspirational words I've ever heard, and that's not a joke. All right. I'll see you in a couple weeks at Combo Breaker then. We'll talk there.
All right. Sounds awesome.
All right. Thanks again.
Of course.
That was Yohosie. I feel bad that I cut her off, but she said, of course. Chat, thank you so much for hanging out. during this. I'm glad I finally got Yohosie in because we've been watching a lot of her content in our morning streams, and all of her content has been extremely, extremely helpful. So I'm glad we finally got a chance to chat. Thought she was about to say, "May the 4th be with you." Oh boy, maybe. I don't know. I feel bad I cut her off. I'm terrible. I'm a horrible technical director. But here's what's on the docket for us. I am most likely going to be on tomorrow morning. I want to explore the... I want to take a look at some more Street Fighter 6 footage, and I also want to take a look at some of the tournaments that went on this past week. The Kansai Game Festival happened. I want to take a look at some of that stuff as well. Next week, we'll be back on Monday, 9:30 a.m., the usual. And from then on, I'll should be on our usual schedule from here on out. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining again. Big thank you to Yohosie for joining. Hopefully, we'll see more of her soon. And I'm out of here. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Goodbye. There's the raid button. And then I'm going to keep waving goodbye so I can turn this off. Goodbye.